Hi, I'm Miles. I'm the physician assistant here at the Center for Asbestos-Related Disease, and I want to talk to you a minute about cardiovascular exercise. Now, we've all been to the doctor's office and everybody hears it all the time. The doctor says you need cardiovascular exercise. And most people, as soon as they hear that from a health professional, their eyes glaze over and they imagine in the back of their minds some poor slob on a treadmill set up at 45 degrees of attack. He's sweating through his gym clothes. He looks miserable, and you say to yourself, that ain't gonna happen. And so nothing happens. Okay? But cardiovascular exercise after age 50 is not this sweaty thing. You're not, double your heart rate and burn all these calories. It's a pretty simple explanation. The definition of cardiovascular exercise is any activity that involves full body motion that you can sustain in a rhythmic fashion for at least 20 minutes without stopping. Walking would tend to qualify for that as long as you didn't stop and with the neighbors along the way or have a little dog on the leash that had to pee all the time. You gotta get a nice steady rhythm with this exercise. Now, so why is that important? Well, cardiovascular, we all think, well, it's your heart. Well, yeah, your heart's pumping, but your heart's pumping anyway, so what's the big deal? We're at a Center for Asbestos-Related Disease, so of course we're thinking about your lungs. And so, of course, you're expanding and contracting your lungs pretty regular, but of course you're doing that all day long anyway. So why cardiovascular exercise? Well, cardiovascular exercise in a nice rhythmic fashion is doing things that you need to be aware of, and then you'll understand better. I have this x-ray here, so I want to just explain a couple things on the x-ray. First off, these curved lines right here, that's your diaphragm. Okay, your diaphragm is a big tent muscle. It pulls down with each inspiration, stretches your lungs longer, and draws air in there with the vacuum that it creates. And you're breathing with your diaphragm day and night, all day long. That muscle doesn't need any exercise. That's called your primary muscle of respiration. Okay? These are your ribs coming around here like this. And they start at the spine and they come around to the front. We all kind of know that from basic anatomy. But I want you to think about that rib for a second, the same way you think about the bail handle on a simple bucket, okay? Sitting in the middle of the kitchen floor, the handle's right up against the side of the bucket. You go to pick the bucket up by the bail handle, you don't ever knock your knuckles on the rim of the bucket because the handle's actually bigger around than the bucket is. Well, your ribs are the same way. They're bigger around in your chest, but they kind of lay down by your side like this, and the diaphragm is doing all the breathing work, primary muscle of respiration. Remember, we talked about that. Okay, so these little muscles in between the ribs, when they kick in, they lift the ribs up. And just like the bail handle on the bucket, if you watch my elbows when I do that, they move away from the sides of my body. So these muscles, when they kick in and pick all these ribs up like Venetian blinds, that expands your chest in a lateral fashion, so in a second dimension from the way the diaphragm's working. That adds about 20% lung volume. And we used to call, when those muscles kick in, that's your second wind. That's when your second wind kicks in, when those muscles start picking the ribs up. Now the problem is, these muscles in between the ribs, they're just little short muscles. They only go from one rib to the next. And the doggone things get tired easy. You can't bulk them up, they're too short. So all you can do is tone them up. And they're so short they don't keep their tone unless you use them every other day. So the definition of cardiovascular exercise is some sustained rhythmic movement that gets you picking those ribs up 20 minutes every other day without stopping. That's what's building up stamina in those muscles. When people get short of breath, lots of times it's not that they can't breathe, it's because they got tired of breathing. They start up the stairs, the ribs start picking up, halfway up, them muscles get tired and shut down. You're trying to go up the rest of the stairs with just your diaphragm and it don't get you the whole way and you have to stop and rest. So that's what we're doing with cardiovascular exercise, is building up stamina in those muscles. Now, here at CARD, we have asbestos-related pleural disease, which means that the lining around the lungs is getting a little bit thicker. So instead of being like a balloon, it's a little bit thicker. So it's like a bicycle inner tube maybe. So it takes a little more muscular strength to get that stretched out. And so we want to build those muscles up for sure. And if we think about like a balloon, we can get a balloon out when we were little out of the bag and try to blow it up the first time, you darn near bust a vein in your forehead doing it. But as soon as you blew it up the first time, it was easy to blow up after that. It was stretched out and it was more pliable, and you could hand it to your little sister and she'd blow it up easy. So lining of your lungs with regular cardiovascular exercise is just like that. You're keeping it stretched out and possibly keeping it more pliable and less likely to get stiff and fibrous in the future. Okay, so cardiovascular exercise is your heart, your lungs, and all that working together. Now, we can all understand the physical aspects of that, but there's one more part of cardiovascular exercise in this definition sense that people miss all the time, is the meditation part, okay? So we got 20 minutes of walking or jogging or whatever, and your brain goes and does something else. That's where you get this sense of euphoria that people used to call the runner's high, or you know, a sense of relaxation when you finish this workout, so to speak. You're not sweating. It should be steady, not necessarily sweaty, and you just embrace this boredom as a meditation, and you'll feel better and more likely to continue it. So why is the meditation important? Well, can't prove it scientifically, but everybody knows that when you reduce stress, you improve immunity and your daily function and all that sort of thing. So we're getting a nice rhythmic breathing going, our heart's going nice and steady, we have a steady pace down the road. You'll pretty soon notice that your footsteps, your heart rate, and your breathing rate all kind of synchronize, and it feels good there. That's called being in the zone. Everybody's got a different pace with that, so you're in the zone, and that's easy to start thinking about whatever it is your brain wants to think about. We got the granddaughter's birthday coming up, and the bills are here, and you know, the cat peed on the carpet, and you know, all these little stressors that we can kind of talk to ourselves about, talk to God about, doesn't really matter. You just get them off the back burner, deal with them a little bit, and feel better when you're done with this activity. You've done multitask, you've improved your heart, you've improved your lungs, you've improved your life and your mental state, and everything is good. Now, cardiovascular exercise, that's what it's all about, is this whole big picture of improving your health. And the doctor didn't have time to explain that all to you, but it's all true.